Yes, my Lord.
Huh?
Yes, the Prabhupada chanted Jayad Madhava already.
Okay.
So,
Just give me a minute here. I think because of the timing, the crowd is down. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naisti Idam Bhagavatam Nama Purana Brahma Samitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishayasaya Tasya Danyam Swastayanam Mahat Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Charane Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desatarine. Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 18, text number 28. Alabda Trina Bhumyadir
Alabda Trina Bhumi Abe
Sampraptargya Sanrita
Asam Prap Sangya Rita
Avagyatam Ivatmanam
Avajyan Ivatmanam
Manyamanas Chukopaha
Manman Ko Ya Aha
Alabda Trina Bhumyadir
Alabda Trina Bhumi
Asampraptargya Sanrita
Asam Prap Sangya Rita
Avagyatami Batmanam
Avajyan Ivatmanam
Manyamanas Chukopaha. Okay, anyone else see?
Alabdatra na boy me ade.
Alabda Trina Bhumya Adi
Samprap tapia surita.
Asam Prap Sangya Rita
Avashnatam evatmanam.
Avatnatam Ivatmanam
Mayamanas takopaha.
Yanto Alabda Trina Bhumi Adi
Alabdatra na bumi ade.
Rita
Asamprap tap Ya sumrita
Avadanatam Ivatmanam
avashnatam ivatmanam
Kopa
manyamanaschakopaha.
Manyamanas Chakopaha. Okay. Alabda,
Alabda,
having not received.
having not received.
Trina,
Trina,
seat of straw.
seat of straw.
Bhumi,
Bhumi,
place.
place.
Adi,
Adi,
and so on.
so on.
Samprapta,
Samprapta,
not properly received.
not properly received.
Argya,
Agya,
water for reception.
water for
Water.
reception.
Sunrita,
Sunrita,
sweet words.
sweet words.
Abhagyatam,
Avagnatam,
thus being neglected.
thus being neglected.
Iva,
Eva,
like that.
like that.
Atmanam,
Atmanam,
personally.
personally.
Manyamanaha,
Manyamanaha,
thinking like that.
thinking like that.
Chukopa,
Chukopa
becoming angry.
became angry.
In that way.
Or in that way.
Translation. You have to move it. I can't move it. So I can't. The king, not received by any formal welcome, by means of being offered a seat, place, water, and sweet addresses, considered himself neglected, and thinking that way became angry. Purport. The law of reception in the codes of the Vedic principle states that even if an enemy is received at home, he must be received with all respect. He should not be given a chance to understand that he has come into the house of an enemy. When Lord Krishna, accompanied by Arjuna and Bhima, approached Jarasandha at Magadha, the respectable enemies were given royal reception by King Jarasandha. The guest enemy, namely Bhima, was to fight with Jarasandha, and yet they were given a grand reception. At night, they used to sit down together as friends and guests, and in the day they would fight, risking life and death. This was the law of reception. The reception law enjoins that a poor man who has nothing to offer his guests should be good enough to offer a straw mat for sitting, a glass of water for drinking, and some sweet words. Therefore, to receive a guest, either friend or foe, there is no expense. It is only a question of good manners. But they still have that pretty much intact. I've noticed anyway, as far as greeting guests. When Maharaj Pricket entered the door of Swami Rishi, he did not expect a royal reception by the Rishi because he knew that saints and Rishis are not materially rich men. But he never expected that a seat of straw, a glass of water, and some sweet words would be denied to him. He was not an ordinary guest, nor was he an enemy of the Rishi. And therefore, the cold reception by the Rishi astonished the king greatly. As a matter of fact, the king was right to get angry with the rishi when he needed a glass of water very badly. To become angry in such a grave situation was not unnatural for the king. But because the king himself was not less than a great saint, his becoming angry and taking action were astonishing. So it must be accepted that it was so ordained by the supreme will of the Lord. The king was a great devotee of the Lord, and the saint was also as good as the king. By the will of the Lord, the circumstances were so created that they became ways to the king's becoming unattached to family connection and governmental activities, and thus becoming a completely surrendered soul unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. The merciful Lord sometimes creates such awkward positions with pure devotees in order to drag them toward himself from the mire of material existence. But ultimately, the situations appear to be frustrating to the devotee. The devotees of the Lord are always under the protection of the Lord. In any condition, frustration or success, the Lord is the supreme guide for the devotees. The pure devotees, therefore, accept all conditions of frustration as blessings from the Lord. Wow. Om Gyana Timirandasya Ganagana Shalakaya Chaksun Militanyena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Yadati Swapadantikam. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shri Makti Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravane Pracharane Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschachade Satarane Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gora Tuse Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya. All right, so this is another Leela. There are similar Leelas. Gajendra, the elephant, he was a great king in his past life, and he also visited some rishi. The rishi was in a trance. When they're in that kind of a trance, they have no sense perception. Everything is shut off. It's all internalized. So it's not that he was ignoring the king, he just didn't know he was there. So the same thing, I'm not sure what that king, I think his name was Indradumna or something. He offended that sage and then he took birth, or no, he ignored the sage or something. And he got cursed to become an elephant. So these things are happening, but Krishna makes many arrangements. We might wonder, like, why did Parikshit, who was such a great king and cared so much for the citizens, it said he had the power to counteract this curse, but he just accepted it and left his body. So therefore he left the kingdom unattended and, made the, and Kali could, so somebody might think, well, if he would have just killed Kali, then we'd be all right now. We wouldn't have Kali Yuga. But that's not, it's all Krishna's arrangement. Where I am now, winter is coming, so it's getting very cold. You can't stop that. You can just, get warm clothes and get fires or whatever you need to stay warm. Can't change the cycle of the weather. The rainy season comes, the dry season comes. So the Kali Yuga comes, and then it ends, and then the Satya Yuga comes again, and it just goes around and around. So we can learn, not required. Krishna one time was traveling with a group of sages, and big ones, the Narada Muni, Vasudev, all the main big sages. And in one place he visited, there was a great king who was a great devotee, and there was a very poor Brahmana who was also a great devotee. And Krishna and all the entourage, they all divided into two, and they went to the king and to this poor man at the same time. So at the king's place, they were greeted with all kinds of servants and opulent seats and the best types of all kinds of food that only a king could prepare. And at the poor Brahmana's house, they had some wooden plank they could sit on, or an old log or something, and they just had water. But they greeted them very nicely and offered. I remember way back when I was first in the temple, I was in Dallas, Texas, and SWAMI was the president. And we used to do the Sunday feast. So one time we did this when we memorized the prayers, and one of us was the king or whatever, and we were reciting all these glorification of Krishna. The king and the poor Brahmin both glorified Krishna and all the sages in the same way. And Krishna and all the sages were equally satisfied with both places. They accept, if you give what you have fully, then Krishna is very, very happy. So I just, it said on the announcement there something about, the marathon, book distribution marathon. Ghana has been trying to do a book distribution marathon already. And we're hoping that more and more devotees will pick up on it. But there's many, many things Prabhupada says. Here's one I just found. He says, simply by your eagerness, that is the price. That's the price you have to pay. Then you get Krishna immediately. So, how can we get Krishna? We have to be eager. We have to want Krishna. If we want to distribute books, we have to go out and try to distribute books. Or we have to bring people to the temple and inspire them to distribute books. One way or another, eagerness, utsahan, enthusiasm. That's what Krishna is looking for, more than scholarship or any of those other things. And I was just reading the other day, and this amazing verse describing devotees. So what we should be aspiring for. This is from the 11th canto. I called it a marathon inspiration. It's from the 11th canto, chapter 11, verse 33. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, O Uddhava, a saintly person, is merciful and never injures others. And that means verbally also. Sometimes we think, well, I never hurt anybody, but of course, meat eaters are injuring others constantly, including themselves. But it includes even thinking bad about someone is injuring. Even if others are aggressive, he's tolerant and forgiving toward all living entities. So you might say, well, then why didn't Parikshit just forgive this sage? But it's explained in the verse there that it's Krishna's arrangement to glorify Parikshit for, accepting this, fate, and also to make way for Kali Yuga, which has to come, so that Lord Chaitanya can come, because he comes in the Kali Yuga. His strength and meaning in life come from the truth itself. He is free from all envy and jealousy, and his mind is equal in material happiness and distress. Now, this is 2 or 3 verses. It's one long verse. But if we break it up, we'll find all these things in the Bhagavad Gita also in different places, not necessarily all in one place, but he dedicates his time to work for the welfare of all others. His intelligence is never bewildered by material desires, and he has controlled his senses. Okay, so pray for us. The material desires are causing so much trouble. But if we can just not act on them, then, we're doing pretty good. Prabhupada said, it's not like material desires will ever really 100% go away. But if one can just not act on the material desire and control his senses, then that's being desireless. His behavior is always pleasing, never harsh, and always exemplary. And he is free from possessiveness. You'll find these things in the 10 Commandments also. He never endeavors in ordinary worldly activities, and he strictly controls his eating. He therefore always remains peaceful and steady. The saintly person is thoughtful and accepts me as his only shelter. Such a person is very cautious in the execution of his duties and is never subject to superficial transformations, because he is steady and noble. Even in a distressing situation, he has conquered over the 6 material qualities, namely hunger, thirst, lamentation, illusion, old age, and death. He's free from all desire for prestige and offers honor to others. Trinadapi sunichina, Tororapi sahishnina, Amani na manadena, Kirtaniya sadahari. So that Amani na manadena, that means he offers all respects to others, and he never expects any respect in return. So someone might say, well, Parikshit is supposed to be a great devotee, but he was expecting respect from this rishi, and then he didn't offer respect. He hung a dead snake on his neck. So there are different activities, pastimes that are confusing. They seem to be against scripture, but they're not. Like Bhaktisiddhanta was a very strong preacher and criticized the Mayavadis and the Sahajas very strongly. So he was accused of not following Lord Chaitanya, Trinadapi Sunichena, because he didn't act humble. He was aggressive and criticizing other people. But actually that was his humility. He couldn't tolerate these people preaching an anti-bhakti philosophy and misleading people. Because when the Mayavadis, they take away the personality of Godhead and the personal loving exchanges. And then when there's no personal loving exchange, there's no pleasure in the so-called spiritual life. So then people take to sense gratification. And the Sahajas are promoting sense gratification in the name of religion, and that you can sin and all you have to do is chant because that nullifies sins. So he was very strong. That was actually extreme humility, fearlessness. He's expert in reviving the Krishna consciousness of others. He never cheats anyone. So that's our book distribution. We're trying to revive the Krishna consciousness that revive means they have it, but it's in a trance. The Krishna consciousness is in a coma. So we have to revive it, wake up their memory. That's why Prabhupada put so many pictures of Krishna, beautiful pictures that attract people, and devotees learn to be very friendly and happy and greeting people, looking very beautiful with tilak and neck beads. And he never cheats anyone. We don't cheat people. We give them Prabhupada's books. We're not just taking their money and enjoying life with it. We're giving them Prabhupada's books, and that's the best thing you can give anybody, because that can actually liberate them. So such a saintly person, rather, he is a well-wishing friend to everyone, being most merciful. Such a saintly person must be considered the most learned of men. He perfectly understands that ordinary religious duties prescribed by me in various Vedic scriptures possess favorable qualities that purify the performer. And he knows that neglect of such duties constitutes a discrepancy in one's life. Having taken complete shelter at my lotus feet, however, the saintly person ultimately renounces such ordinary religious activities and worships me alone. Thus, he is considered to be the best among all living entities. That's just a sample of what we're supposed to be, what we're hopefully wanting to be anyway. So the more we hear about great devotees, the more we can aspire, we can know what we're aiming at, what is the goal. The goal of book distribution, marathon, of course, we want to distribute many, many books, but we want to, the reason we're doing that is to connect people to Krishna and to keep ourselves connected to Krishna. Prabhupada actually said that we're distributing Krishna's books, so this way we think of Krishna. The books are about Krishna, the pictures of Krishna, Krishna's words, Krishna's activities. So it's to make us Krishna conscious also. The more we try to give Krishna, the more Krishna will give himself to us. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya, he told us, wherever you go, whoever you meet, tell them about Krishna. And Prabhupada, made that easier by giving us the books, and we can show people the book, which is attractive. And then they go away, because it's not like people are going to just come and sit down at our feet and listen to us talk all the time. But they go home with their books, and then they will have the association of Srila Prabhupada and all the great saintly people that are in the book. So, and as far as the marathon, it's a special time. It's interesting. It started in America. In America, Christmas is a real madhouse of shopping. Many businesses, retail businesses, they only make profit in December. Everyone is so madly buying Christmas presents and holidays or whatever they're doing. And so devotees it just happened, they were going out, and the last few days before Christmas, the shops were open till midnight, and everybody's in a really, Christmas mood of charity and happily giving donations, and devotees, they forgot everything. They just stayed out. So gradually it developed into 1 week and then into 1 month. And now it's becoming like a few months because they have a Bhagavad Gita marathon and a Bhagavatam marathon and a Chaitanya Charitamrita marathon. And so, life goes on. And then devotees in other countries said, well, yeah, that's America, but in so many countries, Christmas, nobody cares about Christmas. In India, who cares about Christmas? A little bit. It is a holiday, but it's not the same. It's a government holiday, but it's not, that same mood is not there. Europe even, it's not there. But they found it just by making the effort. They also did even more books than America. And then as the world caught on, and devotees all over the world, put out, more devotees go out that don't normally go out. They shut down even some temple functions, or devotees go out much more longer hours than they usually do. Some devotees just, read much more. A few devotees take the job of taking care of everything at the temple, so more can go out. So that energy builds up all over the world. And so when we do that, when we join in, we're connecting to that energy of thousands of devotees all over the world. And it's more and more every year that are just absorbed in reading the books and distributing the books, and thinking how to expand, how to please Srila Prabhupada, pleasing to the spiritual master, pleasing to the parampara. If we just think of what Prabhupada went through to produce these books, and just to translate them and compose them, that if we could put that, even 1 ounce of that much effort in, we could be very powerful. But and then so much effort Prabhupada went to make temples, to get devotees to translate the books in so many languages, to publish the books. Amazing Herculean efforts were made by empowered devotees, because nobody had experience in any kind of things like that. So we would like to, join in. Now in West Africa, we have a lot of books. More books are coming. The more you distribute the books, the more devotees will donate to give you more books. And the more we practice, the more Krishna will send people who really appreciate them and will give decent money for them. And we'll read them and even join in to help us to distribute them more and more. So please, everybody, at least, if you can't go out all day, every day, most of us can't do that, but somehow or other distribute some books. We have a great, talent there. I just saw the movies from the Rath Yatra. I don't know who this Maharaja is. He's doing some kind of Indian dance quite nicely. And we got a few others overseas doing very nicely. Now Tribhuvanath says he's coming in December, stay for up to 6 months. So he should be able to help a lot to distribute books and all kinds of preaching expert. So I'm going to give you a few chance to comment or ask some questions. There's another quote from Prabhupada that can help us. Don't feel yourself to be alone, because Krishna is always with you. Krishna is always with every living entity as a super soul. And to his devotee especially, he talks and gives instructions how to attain the perfectional stage of meeting him. So don't feel alone. Always chant whenever possible. Read our books, and there'll be no great difficulty. This is a standout because now I don't think it's such a thing in West Africa, but in America, it's become, loneliness has become one of the most dangerous, diseases. That people are lonely and they just cry and they don't go outside, they don't meet anybody, nobody loves me, nobody cares about me, and it's very sad because they don't know Krishna, they don't know the soul, they don't know anything. But devotees never feel alone because you can't get away, you can't be alone. There's a story. One teacher, he gave all his students one apple, and he said, you go away and find a place where you're all alone and eat this apple. So they went out, and one to one they were coming back, and they all said they found a place where they were alone and they ate the apple. So the teacher didn't say anything. Finally, one student came back, the last one, and he still had his apple with him. And the teacher asked him, and he said, I couldn't find any place where I was alone. That's actually the fact, because there's witnesses, but ultimately there's always a super soul. That's what's described for when we go to the court of Yamaraj. He has many witnesses. He has the air and the sunlight, the moonlight, and all the demigods. But even if you can hide from all those things, there's a super soul. So nobody can get away with anything. Nowadays in the West, people are all afraid of surveillance and, tapping your phone. And if you walk down the street in London, you get thousands of pictures taken because they have cameras everywhere, keeping, watching everything. But devotees are afraid of the super soul. They're afraid of, they want to behave. We want to behave ourselves because Krishna knows. And we should try to keep that in mind. Krishna loves us. He wants to help us, and he always will help us. Okay, so any...
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much for your association, and nice.
I'm sorry I missed your kirtan mail. It looks really ecstatic. But okay, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for giving us your association. We really appreciate it, even though, despite the inconvenience of time in here, because we do fully appreciate your presence and your continuous encouragement, and reminding us about the most important mission of Srila Prabhupada, to distribute his books. So we are inspired by your words. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Well,
So dear devotees, yes, Maharaj.
Yeah. So anyone else?
Yeah, I just wanted to request the devotees, if anyone has a question or comment relating to the verse read or something outside of it, please kindly indicate by raising your hand using the emoji, or directly raising your hand. We'll call you to ask your question. or Major
Or you
Covid.
can write in the chat, or we have Astro Rishi there. He has all the answers.
But I have a question. In the purport, it is explained that you also mentioned it in the course of the lecture that the Lord arranges the devotees to be put in a particular situation for a purpose. Sometimes when we look at devotees, sometimes do certain things, a devotee get angry in the course of doing duty, maybe as a temple priest, as a temple commander, whatever, then it's called to be a Maya. So how do we differentiate? Because sometimes we see that devotee genuinely concerned about devotional activities and they get angry. So how do we differentiate that with this arrangement of the Lord inspiring devotees to act in a particular way?
Well, we should never think, if I get angry, that it's the arrangement of the Lord. If someone else gets angry at us, we might think that, but if we get angry, we should think I've just lost control. But it's uncommon that, it's not just anybody where Krishna makes those kind of arrangements. It's Maharaj Yudhisthira, great sages, great devotees, great kings, not just ordinary devotees, that Krishna would make such arrangements. Maybe when Prabhupada got angry, and we would think that, but Prabhupada would apologize when he got angry and say, I'm sorry. One time he said that, he said he got really angry because someone made a big noise in the room next to him in Mayapur. I don't know if you ever saw the guest house rooms, but they have very heavy beds. And if you move that bed, it makes a huge noise. So his secretary had the next room and his bed was then moved around. So he moved it and then Prabhupada came running and what are you doing? He said, I was just moving the bed. Prabhupada screamed at him, you're just your own sense gratification, you rascal. And then he came back a few minutes later and said, I'm sorry. When you get old, you get disturbed really easy. And I'm sorry, I shouted at him. But in that case, it's different because then it's Krishna, and he Prabhupada didn't get mad at just any devotee. It was never really angry. It just looked like anger. But I think we should just think, anger is lust, greed, and anger. These are three gates leading to hell. We should not think Krishna's arranging for me to go to hell because I got angry.
Thank you, Maharaj.
But if you get angry, you can get angry at the demons who are propagating atheism and everything and materialism. But the way we express that anger is anger is such a huge amount of energy. So we utilize that energy for distributing books and chanting it publicly, spreading the holy name, having Rath Yatra festivals.
Thank you, Maharaj.
We transform that energy. Into something useful. Even sex agitation, it's a tremendous amount of energy. So it can be channeled and used for something good.
Yes, Maharaj. Thank you. Rasa Vilas Prabhu, please kindly unmute and ask your question.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah.
That's what my observations. I have a question. The question sounds somehow funny, but I think it's definitely going to be something you can definitely say something about. I read in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6 or 6, as it is said that for one who has controlled the mind, the man becomes the best of friends, and one who has failed to do so, the man is his worst enemy. And in the purport we read today, it is said that even if your enemy visits you, you have to welcome him and give him the best you could. So I have this question that in our mind is said to be the worst of our enemy. At what point or who else aside our mind could be said or could be classified as also being an enemy aside the mind, as the Gita makes us understand that the mind is the worst of enemies if it is not controlled. Who then aside our mind can become our enemy, or at what point shall we say this person is an enemy? Hare Krishna. I just wanted to throw a more light on that and somehow a bit confused. Hare Krishna.
Well, the mind is our enemy when it's, telling us, you don't need to chant today. You chanted enough already. You've done a lot of tapasya. Or, this devotee is a nonsense. You can criticize him all you want. Then your mind is your enemy. And we have to engage Krishna to defeat that enemy. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And our mind is a friend when it's telling us, go to the temple, serve the devotees, chant the holy name, read the Bhagavad Gita, distribute the Bhagavad Gita. The mind will be your enemy. Say, there's no use to distribute books. Nobody reads them anyway. The mind is always doing things like this. You need intelligence to direct the mind properly. Okay.
I read them right. I think the second aspect of the question is, aside our mind, at what point or who else could we identify or classify as this person is also an enemy? Who then becomes our enemy, as you have explained that the mind is not controlled and it keeps dictating to us, don't do this.
Mind is your enemy. There's no other enemy. The mind is your enemy.
All right, Maharaj. But my question has to do with the purpose you read. That if an enemy even visits you, like he cited the example of Krishna and Bhima visiting one king, and you have to welcome them, even though during the day they fight, and then in the evening they sit beside the fire to talk as friends. So
okay, another one that we can get confused about. Like Yudhishthira is called a Jata Shatru. No, he has no enemies. But then how can you say that, Duryodhana hated him and was always just thinking how to cause trouble for him? And all the gurus were trying to knock him out so they could become the kings. But he didn't consider himself to be the enemy of someone else. That's, but these things require a little discrimination. If you're just looking for contradictions like that, you can find so many things. But if you just think a little bit, then you can see past it. So-called looks like a contradiction. Because someone may think that he's your enemy, but the devotee doesn't think that I'm the enemy of someone. Or even if someone is an enemy of me, they just see everything as Krishna's arrangement. You understand?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, good. So don't be inimical towards anyone, don't be an enemy of anyone. Even if someone is trying to act like your enemy, you may have to fight them if they attack you in a, you know what I mean? If they're attacking you in a violent way, you have to fight. All right.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you.
So any other question or comments? Anyone has a question, comments?
Anybody want to tell something? Who was at the Rath Yatra? It looked like so many devotees were there. It looked like quite a good parade also from the movies I saw.
Yeah. A question on that.
200 or 300 devotees were there.
None of them are here.
Really? Well, anyway, it's very good that you could manage that. You should have more. It's always a good way to keep everybody really nicely engaged.
So dear devotees, anyone with any comments, Maharaj is still with us. Reports, comments.
Yeah, anybody have some plan for the marathon to actually do something?
Is there Sivas Vanachari? Any words for the devotees for the month of December marathon? Okay, it appears no one has any other question or comment.
I'm sure he just Shiva's Maharaj didn't hear what you asked.
Okay. Sivas Prabhu, can you hear me? It's great, Sivas Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah.
Yes, I was asking, and maybe if you have any words for the devotees marathon, they relation to this is the first day of December, the beginning of the month of marathon for devotees.
Yes, thank you, Maharaj, for giving us this beautiful class and speaking about the marathon. We have been trying to inspire devotees to do something. I call it December is a month of mercy for both the devotees and the non-devotees, because it is a month for distributing Srila Prabhupada's mercy to the non-devotees by giving them the chance to hear about Krishna. And anyone who is distributing the mercy also becomes a beneficiary of the mercy. Transcendental mercy, the more mercy you give out, the more mercy you get. So this morning I was telling devotees in Accra that everyone should do something to share the mercy, and to that degree you share the mercy, to that degree you get the mercy. So this month of December is a special month, and everyone should endeavor to do something as regards book distribution. And this way we can spread Krishna consciousness and also increase our Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, you can get a lot of mercy by joining up with all these devotees all over the world that are, doing so much.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you for the inspiration. Keep
If you
pushing.
want mercy, you got to give mercy. That's how you get mercy. You know, many times we're asking, give me mercy, but the more we give it, the more we get it. The more you teach about Krishna, the more, you know, Krishna will help us to understand him, appreciate him. So thank you, Shivas, and for all your lifetime of service.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Did you get those books from Lagos that came?
No, not yet. They said they called this morning I was asking Chandra Prabhu why the books have not yet come. And he said that the transporter, the guy who brought them the last time, has lost a mother, has lost his mother, and in the funeral. So he said he cannot do anything until he has finished with the funeral. So I said they should find out from him whether he has finished the funeral. So we can't keep waiting. Otherwise, they should find another transporter.
Yeah, and birth, death, disease, and old age. Huh?
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Srivas Ganachari. Thank you, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj spoke about loneliness in the present times, as devotee was just mentioning. And how loneliness has become a very big challenge. We should always know that Krishna is with us. If we constantly remember that Krishna is with us, then we can overcome the challenges of loneliness, which is one of the challenges in this age. Thank you, Mother, for sending that reminder.
Yeah, you know, I heard it's changing, but in America, depression is another, like, the biggest selling medicine is antidepressant. And it's quite, you know, serious. And they said that they don't have a problem with depression in Nigeria because people never heard of it. But in America, they talk about it. It's in the news, and in the movie stars, rich people are depressed, and you know, all these things are happening. But then gradually, now with the internet, you know, all this information spreads everywhere, you know. So we have to utilize this media, you know, to spread Krishna consciousness. That's the only way to really help people that are suffering and mental diseases, you know.
Yeah.
And
Mental health.
realize that Krishna is in everyone's heart, you know.
But even for devotees, sometimes we find out that even the mental health challenges comes because sometimes it's difficult to see Krishna when seemingly challenges come. Maharaj Parishit was a pure devotee. When he was caused to die in 7 days, he was caused to die in 7 days. He was able to quickly. But for devotees, practicing devotees, will sometimes also find it difficult to comprehend. So when practical challenges comes before us, even within the devotee community, we find it very difficult to cope. Maharaj, maybe you can give some advice on that.
Yeah, this is, well, you know, because it's Kali Yuga, and you know, we're identifying with the body and the mind are both temporary, and therefore we get mentally distressed, and the mind has been so poisoned, you know, by our education, so-called education, and by the news, and by, you know, all the stuff going on around us, and, you know, material desires. So, I mean, obviously, if we can just chant, you know, and follow everything strictly, we'll get cured, even though, just like if we have physical defects, we have chronic disease, it may not go away, but we can tolerate it. But the mental things, we can gradually get purified. Some people, they need professional help. They need even medication sometimes, because it's more than just confusion. It might be physical illness, pain somewhere you don't even know about. So sometimes we have to get, if someone's mind is too upset, sometimes it's because they took a lot of intoxication, previously, and, they're poison, and sometimes they have some disease nobody knows about, and you need to get a full checkup and find out about that also. But no matter what else you're doing, see, like we're telling people, just chant Hare Krishna, and it's true. If you just chant Hare Krishna, you can cure. But some people, their mind is so disturbed they can't just chant regularly. So then we have to find ways, and sometimes we're not qualified to help. We just have to, find some professional help. Fortunately, in some parts of the world, devotees are becoming qualified, counselors and things like that.
Thank you, Maharaj, for the advice. So, dear devotees, I guess there are no more questions or comments. If anyone still has anything to ask while Maharaj is with us, we can go ahead and ask. Maharaj, before you go, you said something within the class that December, most companies seemingly make more money because people have this mentality to buy so much within the month of December. Even
That's the case.
Even as devotees also, we talked about doing marathon, which is a family business. But sometimes also we get captured with the mood of the environment, because naturally it's a time for everybody to go on holidays, it's a time to, and family members demand even when you don't want to. So how do we deal with that, Maharaj?
I don't know. I mean, they want you to buy presents for them and stuff.
Family, the devotee knows that we're not supposed to be carried away by this, but even the family members, they feel, you've been a devotee, but you should give them presents, you should give something.
Yeah, I know. I was in London one Christmas time, and many people, they were not happy at all. They're just angry that they have to buy presents for everybody, and they have to go to these parties, and they're expected to do so many things. And so we have to, do something, but just say, I'm sorry, but, we're doing the best thing possible for them by, helping them to get Krishna by being devotees. They won't understand that right away. Okay.
All right, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
We're very
you all
grateful
for coming, and I know it's an odd time, because I'm in Japan, so it's 8 hours later than Nigeria here. So now it's 8 o'clock at night.
to be here.
But
So,
still, we have a really good group.
thank you so much, Maharaj, for giving us your time. Dear devotees, at this moment, we would like everyone to kindly unmute. Let us loudly chant a powerful Hare Krishna mantra to appreciate my association, appreciating for the class.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj.
So the next Kavicandra Maharaj ki jai.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Krishna. Thank you so much.